Hello everybody, and today I want to talk about fantasy, kind of. And you might think, interesting. Well, in fact, here's a little quandary for you. Would you say that this is fantasy? You know, we've got we can see various elves, goblins, Ents, Brutos, Merfolk. Now, to a lot of people, that's probably one of their first thoughts when they think of fantasy. But if I say went back and clicked this option, and here, we look at. Over here we see various science fiction civilizations presented. And some might think, well, okay, that is still fantasy. That's still kind of fantasy, or at least sci-fi is basically a related genre. And then I'd like to ask another question. Is this fantasy? Now, maybe you'd think, well, it's got a lot like real-world civilizations in it. They're all real. Is this particularly fantastical? Well, let's have a look-see. So we're here in the year 4000 BC, founding Washington. Might seem pretty history-esque. Oh yeah, we can set these kind of things going. Jump. But thing is, we also don't know about things like space flight. We can work towards we could work towards space flight if we wanted to. You might be thinking, how do we know? And that's probably where the fantasy element of Civ comes in. After all, we are setting goals. Because, in a sense, the fantasy at the heart of civilization, I'd say, is that of human achievement. In the sense of, what if humans set their minds beyond the sort of mundane elements of survival and built towards higher ambition? You know, higher goals, which in later times you'd see as things like space. You know, in later civs you'd see as things like space flight. Right. As in, you know, settling the stars, culture, diplomatic victory, and so on. But no. Here it's a relatively simple question. But, you know, as we say, we've got this kind of sort of end game, as it were. Even the... So I guess that's probably the thing about Civ. It's a fantasy of legacy, of what comes after, of building towards a great future, of building towards a future, and, you know, a sense of, and I think fantasy really, it's about wonderment, wondering what if we could raise ourselves above the mundane, in the case of Civ. And so that's why I'd like to open the question up to you. What does fantasy mean to you? And either way, it was lovely having you here.